And we are live. Welcome, welcome.
Hello,
I'm so
hello.
excited. Yeah, I am so excited to see your face. It has
So
been
good
too
to see
long that
you.
we have
Hi.
seen each other in person.
Mhm.
So we are doing this. So for those who are just logging on and checking this out, today I have Kaci Willwerth from Simple Soiree. She
Yeah.
is super talented, super experienced in event planning, and she's got some really cool stories. And I really want to share that with everybody because I find you to be one of my favorite people, and I
Mm,
know
thank
there
you.
are a whole lot of other people who feel the same way about you. So,
You're so
and
kind.
you, yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm a photographer and a wedding photographer, and so Kaci and I have known each other for quite some time, probably over 10 years, I would say, right?
I was trying to think of that. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say 9 or 10 years. Yeah.
yeah, over 10 years, and but now she's branched off on her own as an
Oh,
event planner and has become quite successful at it. So I really want to know this story because obviously, first off, you tell everybody who you are and what Simple Soiree is all about.
yeah, I'm an event planner. If there's a party, we want to be there pretty much. And our main focus is weddings, but we do some private events and corporate events as well. And I don't know, my story, Ben, this depends on how far you want to go back.
Yeah.
I've been in the event world, well, hospitality for 22 years actually,
Wow.
and that led me into the event world, which I just realized the other day is 16 years, and I'm going on year 4 of owning Simple Soiree. So the majority of my life I've been in hospitality or serving people in one capacity or another. And yeah, you want to know when it started?
Yeah.
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 I actually was a hairstylist and a makeup artist in
Oh
Orlando,
wow.
Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, in Orlando. And I was working on film and photography. I was doing hair and makeup
Okay.
for photographers. And my friend got married and she asked me to do hair and makeup for her wedding party.
Yeah.
And that day, one problem after another, she's going to kill me if she sees this, but there was one problem after another that day. And she didn't have a planner. She didn't have a planner. She didn't have a
Oh,
coordinator. And as soon as I was done with hair and makeup, I just jumped in, right? Naturally, as a problem solver, if there's a problem, you just dive in. And I ended up coordinating most of the day and trying to save the day and make sure that everything just
yeah.
went smoothly. And I got home that night and I'm like, boy, I'm in the wrong industry. I am in the wrong side of this.
Yeah.
And so I left Orlando and came back to Pennsylvania and started out actually at Log Cabin Restaurant. And
Okay.
yeah, I think I was 2021. And that's when I got into the catering and
Yep.
events. And it just evolved from there until I was working for venues, doing 120 some weddings a year. And just like you and I were talking about, then I had
Yeah.
a family, right? And when you have a family
Yeah.
and you're working every weekend, you know how that feels. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're putting in 14, 15-hour days. So
Easily.
yeah, that's when I kind of shifted is the industry and events. I mean, it's just my passion. And but how do I juggle that work-life balance, right? How do you have a family and kids in
Yeah.
sports? And my husband owns a construction company. And so it just became time. I think every step I took in my career led me to this. And it
Yeah.
just, when it's time, it's time. You just, the universe speaks to you, right? It tells you when
I
it's,
I'd have to agree with you on that one too,
yeah,
especially for your timing. There, obviously, a lot of things have happened. You were the business you were working for was just humming along. We're talking tons and tons of weddings, right? I was part of that,
yeah,
and the burnout rate is obviously there, right? And everything else, and that work life balance. You get presented with family, and you got to make your choices, right? Because regardless of how long, my wife and I have been together for 10 years. She still to this day did not understand like working weekends. We're like, well, since day one, you've known me to work weekends. I'm still working weekends,
that's
but
how
then
my husband
it's
is. Yeah,
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 and it's not like for sure like you when you and I started it was probably just Saturday. It was mostly Saturdays, right? But then
mostly.
it became Fridays and Saturdays. And then Sundays became a thing. Now it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And so
Yeah.
you got all weekend. And the best times, how many parties have you been invited to and you're like, I'm working that weekend. I can't go to that thing. Let's go, whatever. So,
Yeah.
kind of lead to that. The family leads to it. But so you stepped away to like a high volume time,
Hmm.
and then stepped right back into it when I really felt like we needed another top notch planner in town,
Hmm.
because there was kind of a gap. There's some other really great planners in town, but as far as a whole organization, right? There's some great individual planners, but there's not too many larger groups like you have. So I thought that was pretty brilliant as far as the timing goes.
It really was meant to be. And the other planners you're talking about, they were actually my first phone call. The first
Yeah,
person who knew I was doing this was my husband. And
yeah,
then I called the other two of my colleagues I've worked with for years. I adore them. And I said, hey, I want you to be the first to hear that I'm going to start Simple Soiree. I'm so honored to be on this playing field with you, and I hope we can keep
yeah,
that relationship. That's one of the really cool things about Central PA is all of us in the industry are friends.
yeah. That is
And
so true.
yeah, I mean, if you go an hour northeast, southwest, it's a totally different industry and playing field. And I've always been super grateful for that, to be able to learn from my colleagues, to grow with them. And to this day, we're still friends. And if we're booked, I refer them. If they're booked, they
Yeah, isn't
refer
that a
us.
great feeling?
It is a great feeling, and there's
Yeah,
there's so much business to go around. There's no reason that it can't be like that. So yeah, but the
yeah.
timing was pretty immaculate, and that's when
Mhm.
I was actually also in the transition of becoming the chair for Fete Blanc in Lancaster.
Uh-huh. I can't. I wanted to talk about this too, so I'm excited.
And
Yeah.
this was all in a 2-week period that
Oh, really? Wow.
the business took off. I was standing on the stage at Fete, and I'm like, this is the coolest time in my life. It was just the coolest experience, and it felt like, when you sat back, wow, everything in my life just led to this, and here we
Yeah.
are. You know,
So,
yeah.
so not everyone's in the know of what that is. So why don't you explain to everybody what exactly, how cool that party is?
So it actually originated in France in the 1980s as a woman who wanted to get to know her neighbors and celebrate the beginning of summer. So on summer solstice, she invited her neighbors to the park in Paris and said, wear white, bring a little picnic basket to share. And fast forward, Paris now has upwards of 8,000 people at this event every year.
Oh,
Yeah, which is on my bucket list. I want to go to Paris one
yeah,
day for this, but it's now a worldwide event. We're very blessed to have the event in Lancaster. We are a nonprofit, and we throw a gigantic party every year right around summer solstice. We
yeah.
get sponsors to help throw the event, and whatever we have left over, we give back to other organizations in Lancaster City that focus a lot on children, schools, music, art programs. Obviously, we haven't had the event since
Yeah.
2019, but in 2019, we were able to give back $30,000 to Lancaster City. And boy, there's no better feeling. There's just no better
Yeah.
feeling for that. So I'm on an amazing committee with 20 other people, and we keep hoping that we'll get
Yeah.
to do it again soon. But yeah,
I even love the bit of secrecy that comes along with that too, right? So
yeah.
you don't know where it's happening, so it's super exciting to like find out where it comes. You got to go online real quick, get your tickets, and
Yeah.
got to
Ticket
be a little
sales
bit in the
go in
know.
minutes. Yeah. And then you're
Yeah,
right. We keep the location a secret until the night before.
yeah.
And the night before, everybody finds out where it's going to be. And it is a very hard secret to keep. I have, for
Oh, I'm
months
sure.
leading up to that event, everyone's like, Casey, come here. Tell me where it's at. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
that ruins the
yeah,
fun, you know?
yeah. And of course, I joined you at Fete Noir,
Oh, yeah.
so Party in Black. So that's fun as well. That was because that was last time it was held, right? It was up at Rock
Rockleditz.
Lidditz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started a winter party. It's still kind of the same concept, but dark, sexy, where the summer
Yeah, that's
is
fun.
everybody's in white and it's very light.
Yeah.
But summer and winter solstice is kind of when we try to do that event. And yeah, we had 500 people at that one, and we had about 3,000 at Fete Blanc. So when you're outdoor and you're indoor, there's some restrictions
Yeah.
of how many people you
Yeah.
can have.
Yeah. That's still pretty amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
So, hey, let's get back to your business because I want to learn more about.
Okay.
So, did you when you growing it, right? What did it come just naturally to you, or do you like, look, I'm going to build a team from the start? What was kind of your goal?
From the start, I immediately knew I wanted a team. I wanted support. I love what I do. However, I also know from experience that I don't want to work 52 weekends a year. And
Yeah.
how do we scale the business where I also have longevity and not that burnout? Most wedding planners, believe it or not, don't make it past year 5 in business
Wow.
because we are in such an emotionally driven position. We
Yeah.
deal with people at their highest emotions. I always say, don't judge somebody on event day because you either get the best or the worst side of them.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a loving way, but it's true. And we deal with emotions, and it's easy to get burned out. I experienced that in 2015, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So I knew out of the gate I needed a team. I didn't know how big that was going to be. So I started out with 3 girls, and that was working really well. And then COVID hit. Mhm.
Yeah.
And when all of 2020 pushed to 2021, and I sat back and looked at my calendar, I said, how am I going to be able to take on new
Yeah.
business? We were booked in 2020. We were almost completely booked in 2021 when people started pushing, postponing. And I'm going, how
Yeah.
am I going to do this? You know how I'm going to do this? I'm going to grow the team. I'm going to
Yeah.
bring on more people. We're going to make this work. And then I sit here pinching myself every single day. I
Mhm.
now have 9 girls on our team. Now,
Wow.
yeah.
What I love is they're all outstanding. Like you have put together like the dream team. They are the sweetest, but the most like efficient. Because obviously I've worked with you, but I've also worked with them at different
Yeah.
events as well. And I've always been impressed, right? And I know those faces from the photo of your team and stuff like that. So
They're rock
um,
stars.
they
They
really are. They are rock stars. So I think
really
that's super cool. So beyond the day of, what
are.
kind of, because I don't know your service menu. Like what do you do? Because I see you day of typically.
Great
What else kind
question.
of things you do?
So I like to give, if you would look on our website, we really have 3 listed there, right? Our final details package, which I'm working very hard in the industry to change the verbiage of day of. And I tell couples this. I
Mm,
think it's really deceiving to the couples. When I hear day of, and brides think this way too, and grooms, doesn't sound like we just parachute in that day and like
yeah.
magically everything runs smoothly and
You mean you don't?
yeah,
Yeah.
we're like
Yeah.
helicoptered out and we were just there the day of and everything went
Yeah.
smoothly. And in reality, with that package, we start to give support to our couples about 2 to 3 months before and start that really fine tuning communication with their vendors.
Yeah.
Everybody loves surprises, but never on wedding day. So we take a lot of time to communicate with their vendors. And
Yeah.
as a photographer, Ben, you want to know the timeline before you get there. And
Everything. I
where's
want
the
everything.
ceremony? Where's the reception? What's the day look like? So we, with that package, spend close to 3 weeks actually talking to their vendors and saying, hey, when are you getting there? What are you bringing? What do you need when you get there? And just making
Yeah.
sure, again, there's no surprises. So that I would say is our minimum package. And that does seem to be the
Yeah.
most popular. Then we go into our partial planning package. Partial planning, now they're pulling us into more meetings, right? Help me pick out my rental items. I don't know how much china I need, what size linens. So the partial, we're starting to get a little bit more involved. And then we go all the way up to full planning, which is
Yeah.
they literally get dressed and show up that day and we take care of every single thing for them. However, every couple's not the same and every event's not the
Mhm.
same. So we do customize our packages as
I
well.
can imagine.
I have people that say, well, I don't need you at 5 meetings. I need you at 2 or 3. Cool. You're not going to hear us say no. Our biggest goal is to make sure that we're a support system for all of our
Yeah.
couples and give them that stress-free day that they deserve. There's at the end of our lifetime, Ben, we're all going to have on one hand days that we look back on, right? Like
Yeah.
those are the days you cherish the most. And you can you're thinking of them right now. The day you
I
married,
am actually. Yeah. Yeah.
the day you had your daughter, those
Yeah.
days, what are they? And those are the days that I want. Everybody deserves to say, man, that was the best day of my life. I didn't have to worry about anything other than the rain, right?
Yeah.
Everybody deserves that. And that's our biggest goal is, what's your story at the end of that
Yeah.
day? What's your story? Not that you were worrying about stuff or cleaning in your wedding dress or running around with flowers. And that's why you hire.
Yeah. And we've both seen it. We've both seen those brides that are spending too much time on not enjoying their day. Right.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the things as a photographer I would always say to you, go, look, you know, I, we plan. This is why we go through these details, so you don't have to think anymore on your wedding day, right? So, and say, look, you get all the details. We make sure everything happens because you're paying a professional, so you don't have to think anymore. I also like to mention, I go, yes, you are getting married, but you're throwing a big party, and I don't want you to miss your party.
Yes.
So we're gonna lay out everything that needs to happen, especially with the photography stuff, because there's photographers I've seen take way too long, like 2 hours to do photos. You're like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, you're
So,
right. And it happens.
if you know your list and everything, I can bang it out and get back. And I go,
Yeah.
I want you to enjoy your party. Let's just get you done and get you back. Right. So,
Hmm.
and I've been to those self-planned weddings and it's just painful. It's painful because you're just like, I want to jump in. I want to do this. I want to help you out.
Hmm.
And so one of the things I could see you kind of in your, kind of sales pitch, I guess, whatever you want to call it, planning sessions with folks is talking about that. Like, yes, I'm a cost, but I'm a cost for that could save you a lot in the long run, right? Save you headaches, save you time, save you energy. It's probably save you money too, because if you go for the full plan, I'm sure you can help negotiate. You don't need all that. You don't
Right.
have to do all that, right? If you buy this in bulk, or if you go to this person, you could do
Yeah.
this. You get this deal, because it's
Yeah.
like me buying for my daughter was born, me buying all the parent stuff, right? I bought so much stuff, and they're like, I use half of it, right?
Right. That's exactly
Same thing
right.
happens on wedding days. They buy all this stuff and they
Yeah.
never stuck that sign out. They never hung this thing up, right?
Yeah, that's actually one of the first questions I ask all of our couples is, tell me, I play pretend with me. You're there. The day is finally here. You're marrying your best friend. You're with all of your family and friends, and you're fully present, and you're in that moment. What's the most important thing to you? And it
Mm,
is, I'm not hearing anymore. It's the flowers and the photos, and
yeah,
uh, it's shifting now through COVID. It
yeah,
used to be that. Well, I want really nice champagne, and my flowers have to be over the top, or my dress, or ever
yeah,
since COVID, you know what I'm hearing? I want my guests to have a good time. I want to be together with
yeah,
everybody. Things have shifted a lot, but you're right. It's what's the most important thing to you that day, and then you decide, okay, here's my budget. Everybody has that one thing they're going to blow their budget on, right? Whether
yeah,
it's like the
yeah,
food's the most important, my dress is
yeah,
whatever that is. We all have that one thing that you're like, well, I want to save money on this because I want to go big on X, Y, and Z. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it's a really good point. Like, find out what's the most important thing to you. You don't need all of it, right?
yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
I get someone like yourself who can guide those can end up saving money. I mean,
Hmm.
it could be a net investment. It's an investment of enjoying your day, enjoying everything else, but also maybe possible some cost savings
For
on
sure. And I think too,
having
I want to add
having your
to
team
that
there.
by saying also peace of mind.
Oh,
We
back big time.
right,
Yeah,
especially through COVID, with all of our couples that had to postpone. I'm like, listen, pick 4 dates that are a possibility for you, and then we took it from there. We emailed all their vendors and said, out of these 4 or 5 dates, which one do you have available? And we go back to the couple and say, if you want all the same vendors, here it's this date or this date, and we try to streamline that. But I think there's peace of mind. Wedding planners usually see and know things before couples do. And
yeah,
couples are, of course, in that moment, very emotionally driven. And to be able to be the voice of reason and say, okay, let's revisit this. Let's
Right.
regroup, and here's the options and what works best for you, so I think sometimes having that peace of mind, for example, another big thing we're telling our couples right now is get wedding insurance.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real thing, and like you said, it's a small investment for the peace of mind that it can offer, and everything that it covers is really, really good too. It's just good to have. You wouldn't drive a car without insurance, right? You wouldn't get
Yeah.
up on the highway without it. Why are you going to
Yeah.
have this beautiful party and invest all of that money into it without insurance? So
Super smart.
yeah, I think just adding to what you said, yeah, we do save time, stress free, save money,
Yeah.
but also just that peace of mind, right?
So if you were to talk to a potential someone who wants to get into the planning business, what kind of advice could you give to somebody who's maybe watching this?
Mm.
Did they get their cut their teeth on anything? Do they need to? Is there any kind of what's
Whew.
you
A
know?
lot of people ask me, like, where did you go to school? Did you go to hospitality management? Is there a planning school? And like a school of
Yeah.
hard knocks, because you don't know until you experience it. And every event is different. So I always say when someone reaches out, where to start, get your feet wet anywhere that you possibly can, because
Yeah.
every event is totally different. And I'm still learning. I learn something every single week, every single
Yeah.
event. I learn something new, or how to do it differently, how to make that more efficient. And my team will tell you, after every event, I sit down and I say, what could we do different?
Yeah.
What can we do? What should we do next time to make it smoother, easier, prettier, whatever that is? And I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing too, is never stop learning, never stop growing. But that's a good question. I think just get your feet wet wherever you can, and really, truly, you have to love it, because
I was
it's
about to say that. I was going to say that you
yeah,
have to like people. You
yeah,
have to like people.
yeah.
Because I've had fellow photographers saying, I would never get into the wedding business, or how do you get into the wedding business? And they're like very much a curmudgeon. I'm like,
Yeah,
you don't want to get into the wedding business because you have to genuinely enjoy people,
you
because
do.
you have to be, or just not even just weddings, just events, because you're going to handle high emotions, low emotions. You're going to handle everything, sorts of people. You just got to be like, I'm going to help you have a good time today,
Yeah,
right? Regardless, that's all. You
yeah,
just smile and have a good time, and play along with them a little bit, maybe.
for
So
sure.
I
You
think
definitely
that's
need to love it. I say all the time that the day I wake up and say, oh, man, I got to go to work again, I'm
yeah,
done. I'm done, because this is too important to them. They've invested so much into this. And like I said, they get one day. And anybody that's in it needs to love it and love what they're doing. And I do. I really do.
add to that energy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, here I want to showcase your. Let's bring up your website, right? Because give you a little pitch here, right? So you
Mhm.
got it's soireepa.com, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
obviously there is plenty of information. You got a great video on here. Some, of course, look at all these accolades. Crazy amount of accolades, right? For five
Mhm.
5 years in business, right? But everything from testimonials to your services, everything else. There's a lot of good information on here. What is the best way to someone contact you these days? Are we talking? Are we going through, Instagram? Are we going through websites? What's the best way of reaching out to you?
However it works
LinkedIn.
for them. I'm
Exactly.
always,
Excuse me.
I'm so
Elevator pitching.
available. However it works for them. But most of the time, our conversations are usually through Instagram,
Yeah.
or an email. But I'll tell you, I love to have a phone conversation. I'm so old school, and I love to get
Yeah.
on the phone with our couples and get to know each other, because we're going to be in a relationship now, right? From now until the end of your wedding day.
Yeah.
And we have to be realistic that the day is so important that you have to love the people that are there. And we want
Yeah.
to love our couples too. And I say all the time, Ben, you know that. I'm like, besides the photographer, we're the ones that are
Mhm.
in your face all day, right?
All day.
and you love people, but not all people love each other. Like, it's not always a good fit. Right? Did
It's
I
a
say
great way
that
of saying that.
lovingly?
Yeah,
But you do. You want to
that's
make
great.
sure it's a good fit, and we're going to have a good time together. And so
Yeah,
they can email and reach out however they want, but we're probably going to end up on a phone call or having coffee together somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I obviously Zoom and everything else, and platforms like this are really great way of helping connect people.
Yeah.
So you can do some FaceTime, and so that's amazing. But hey, again, I don't want to take up too much time. I really do appreciate you coming on here. It's always great to see you and talk to you, and
So
even
good
if it's
to see
digitally
you.
just this time.
So good to
But
see you. I'm happy you're doing well.
yeah.
And the
Oh,
family.
thanks. Yeah. So today's interviews were sponsored by Smoker and Company, which is a local CPA firm here in Leola and Lancaster County. But they also own other businesses like Keystone Credit Services, One Source Business Solutions, which is a business brokerage, as well as a legal firm. We have Smoker Wealth. We have Smoker Guard, which is a law firm. So
You're
there's
a
a
busy
lot, right?
man.
Yeah, it's a lot, and we just thought this would be a great way to connect the community members. So, anyone's watching this, we hope that you would come back, bookmark this on the page because we are going to be doing more interviews just like this. Typically, it's about twice a week, and you'll get notified online for these kind of interviews. So, and if you know somebody too, feel free to comment on the pages, and we'll try to connect with them and do some interviews. But again, Kaci, it's awesome always to see you,
Thank
and
you, Ben.
thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
all right, everybody, everyone have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you soon in person.